Welcome into the Sideline Sports Show, episode number 28, here on this lovely Thursday, March the 10th. Ben and Tim here with you. Tim, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. Getting ready for the weekend, just thinking I was going to get ready for some non-news about MLB and how they're going to keep canceling games and just it was going to be despair. But as we have found out recently, that has just not been the case. So I'm happy on this Thursday afternoon going into evening, and I couldn't be more happier, I should say. What about you, Ben?
Absolutely. I mean, look, this was literally I think 3 hours ago that it came across my timeline that the Major League Baseball has announced with the MLPA that they have agreed on a new labor deal, which is huge. And that means we talked about this a little bit before the show, Tim. This means that spring training can technically start tomorrow. Like a lot of these players
Yeah.
can head to their spring training camps starting tomorrow. It does not matter if you're a pitcher, if you're a catcher. It doesn't matter if you're a first baseman, second base. It doesn't matter. You can report tomorrow. So I think you're going to see, like what you said a couple weeks ago, you're going to see a lot of deals happen. I think even in this show, we'll see a lot of deals be done. And I think you mentioned, you sent this to me. I think it starts at 6, right? Is when teams can
Yeah.
start negotiating those contracts with other free agents.
Yeah, it could be an interesting show. I mean, we could have some breaking news coming out right now in the middle as we're speaking throughout. So definitely stay tuned because as it breaks, we'll tell you and you'll find out along with us.
Yeah,
So, I
absolutely. So
mean,
it's
I
going to
don't
be
know if we're gonna get any like Freddie Freeman type stuff in the next hour or so, but I mean, hey, you never know. I mean, we could find out some similar moves and stuff which teams are making. Especially there's some.
I think we lost you, Tim. Your voice, at least. I don't know what happened to your audio, Tim. He went in and out for a second. He's still there. Just can't hear him. But like you said, I don't think Freddie Freeman may sign today. You may see him, sign even tomorrow or the next day. Who knows? But I think if you're the Braves, you want to get Freddie Freeman on the board as soon as possible. You really don't want him missing that time before all these other teams kind of sweep in and have the chance to take him in this free agent market. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the Braves go about that. And another thing that we mentioned, I mean, teams can start technically tomorrow. So you're going to see a lot of teams start sending players to spring training. You're going to see them, sending players left and right, getting players left and right. So it'll be really interesting to see. Glad to have you back, Tim.
Sorry, I had something went wrong on my phone there. So I
Oh, it's okay.
apologize.
It's okay. But Major League Baseball is back for sure. So if we get any updates throughout the show, we will inform you. You'll learn along with us because I'm telling you, it's going to be a crazy 24 hours here with Major League Baseball. All right, Tim, there is actually a lot that is going on in another sport that is already kind of over, and it's not really about to begin anytime soon, Tim. And that is the NFL, as a lot of teams have made blockbuster trades. So let's start with the first one that kind of came out, Tim. Aaron Rodgers goes back to Green Bay. And then the second big one that you saw was Russell Wilson gets traded from Seattle to Denver with a couple of picks. Drew Lock was involved in that. A tight end was involved in that. You saw a lot of different things. Do you think, and I know what the Denver Broncos said, but I want to get your opinion on this, Tim. Was it the Denver Broncos' idea to see, hey, let's see if Aaron Rodgers will come to us first and then go after Russell? Or was it just Russell kind of all along? Because that's what they said. It said it was Russell Wilson all along.
Well, of course, I mean they're going to say that just because they don't want Russell Wilson to feel like he was, the hand-me-down. He was the one that,
right.
He was the second option. But I mean, let's be real. I mean, we'd heard rumors about Aaron Rodgers and the Denver Broncos all along. I mean, they've done this before. They went out and got Peyton Manning years ago, and showed, he allowed them to show him that the rest of the world that he had plenty of football left. So it was definitely. You can't tell me that immediately after Aaron Rodgers signs that deal, you go out and get Russell Wilson. That's not a coincidence. I'm sorry, but there's no. They definitely were going after Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we heard the rumors. We all knew what was happening, and there's so many coincidences going on. I definitely believe that they were all in for Aaron Rodgers if they could get him, but the Packers got him. So they're like, okay, well, next best thing, Russell Wilson, and that's exactly what they did.
Okay, I agree with you on that one. I think when I saw the news that he was going, it kind of shocked me at first, but then as rumors kind of started to come out, I was like, you know what? Like they were after Aaron Rodgers from the get-go. I mean, they hired their offensive coordinator to be their head coach over there in Denver. I mean, it was all pointing in the direction of, hey, Aaron, we're going to try to get you to come. Didn't work out, and now they're at with Russell Wilson. Do you think the Seahawks go after a big-time quarterback, or do you think they stay with Drew Lock?
Based off what I've seen, I mean, again, Drew Lock's going to have some better options up there in Seattle with Metcalf and there are other receivers out there as well. But I mean, there's just a lot of things going on that the Seahawks need to address, and that is what they're going to do with their draft picks that they got back for Russell Wilson. Which I mean, they need to address their offensive line. They need to address their woeful defense. I think that they could stick with Drew Lock and give him a chance, but I feel like them going out maybe trying to make another splash at QB or maybe even drafting one to bring in and at least give Drew Lock some competition. Because there's no way he's going to go in and be like, that's our guy, ride or die, day one. There's no way. They're definitely going to bring in someone to push him, whether that be through the draft or free agency. That remains to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you saw one more big quarterback trade in this couple of hours. You saw Carson Wentz leave the Colts to go over to the Commanders of Washington. To me, they're still the Washington football team. But
Yeah.
do you think it was a good move for Washington, or do you think it may be kind of a risk?
It was definitely a risk. It was definitely a great move by Indianapolis. You know, Carson Wentz is not the guy. I mean, after 1 year, and you needed one game to get into the playoff against the worst team in the league, and he choked. Especially and a guy in which you have Jonathan Taylor, there should be no world in which the Colts shouldn't be one of the top teams in the AFC, or at least towards the top half. Definitely competing in the AFC South. But there's no reason. So like, and they know they need a quarterback, and they knew Carson Wentz is just not that guy to get them there. So, and then they saw an option to kind of get rid of him and get some stuff in return for him, and they took it. So, and there's a lot of uproar from Washington Commanders team. I got to get used to saying that too. That they were not excited at all about this pick. But you're definitely. I think it's going to be the same thing with Seattle. You're going to have someone come in there and at least challenge him, because if you have him as your bona fide starter, I'm sorry, Commanders, you're not going to do what you were hoping to do at some point. You need someone else to come along. And I think that they might draft a QB. I mean, they may go the way of Kenny Pickett. I think it would be a decent fit for them. I don't know if Malik Willis is going to be available to them. I don't even know if they'd take him, depending on how high they are. So there are definitely some options available for them. Will they take it? I don't know. I think they'll eventually take a QB. Will it be in the first round? That remains to be seen. But definitely an interesting trade for the Commanders. And they're like, wait, we need a QB. We need someone that is going to at least give us a chance and look into our future. And it's like, but you thought that was Carson Wentz? Like, I don't understand it. You wanted a veteran QB in this league? It's just, I don't know. It just, the whole thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But and it obviously, if you go on Twitter, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to Commander fans either. So, it's just overall, it's a kind of a head scratcher for the Commanders and a little bit of a win-win for the Colts.
Yeah, we'll talk about one more trade, and then we'll talk about one more thing in the NFL that I want to get your thought on, Tim. The last trade that I'm going to talk about, this was an hour ago. Adam Schefter announced this, that the Bears have finalized a deal to trade Khalil Mack to the Los Angeles Chargers, Tim. I think that's a win if you're the Chargers, because you want somebody that's a veteran on that defensive line, and he is definitely going to provide that for the Chargers.
Oh, absolutely. This is kind of, I put this on the same lines of Von Miller when he was traded from Denver to LA this past year. I think it's along the same lines. I think Khalil Mack, I don't know if he's going to put up the monster numbers that he put up a couple years ago anymore, but he's definitely still got energy left in the tank. He's just matter of staying healthy, being ready to go for him. So, and I think this is going to be great for him. Like getting out there in LA, being able to play in a warmer climate, being play indoors, versus in Chicago. I think that could benefit him, and I think that's something that you'll see. So Khalil Mack getting to return out west, and him and Joey Bosa out there?
Joey Bosa. That's right.
Okay, I couldn't remember which Bosa it was.
One of them.
out there, and those two are going to be lethal to a lot
Yeah.
O linemen and QBs this upcoming year.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Von Miller. I don't know if you've seen this, Tim, but Von Miller looks like he's really trying to get that Broncos organization for him to come back to Denver. Do you think that will be a deal that will be done?
It could happen. Obviously, I don't know how much they are willing to do that, or if they want to bring him back. I mean, obviously, he's not going to get like the contract he got the last time around. Obviously, he's
Right.
not that kind of player, and he's not that kind of value. Obviously, because the Broncos shipped him
Yeah.
to LA. So, but I think it could happen. He's definitely going to have to come back at a bargain for him. But I could see it definitely happening for sure.
Right. And then finally, in the NFL news, this is kind of what kicked off this week in the NFL news, Tim, is Calvin Ridley has been suspended
Yes.
a full year uh, because he gambled at least $1,500 on a 16-team parlay. And he basically betted for the Falcons to win, according to multiple different sources. But still, at the end of the day, it says not to gamble in the NFL, and he got caught, and it's a year-long suspension. The only reason I'm bringing this up, Tim, is there's only one reason I'm up. There's two reasons. One, as a Falcons fan, you went in and you supported this dude because he missed the season last year because of mental health issues, okay? And then you're kind of trying to support him to get to come back this year. You saw trade rumors saying, hey, he doesn't want to be in Atlanta anymore. And so you're like, and then he goes and does this. And now, luckily, he has to pay the Falcons $11.1 million this year for missing out on this season. And he was eligible for free agency. And, now he's not eligible for that. He'll miss the whole year and have to basically pay the Falcons. So it's a win for the Falcons, but at the same time, I think they're very, very frustrated with the whole fact and the whole instance that happened. I think the other thing that really kind of makes me mad, though, Tim, is that he gets suspended for one whole year for gambling, but majority of the people who have like sexual assault or other things only get like 6 games, Tim. Do you think the NFL needs to kind of look back and say, hey, like, if you're damaging the game, I feel like you're damaging the game more with sexual abuse and sexual assault than gambling? Like, why is the punishment a little bit harder? What's your takes on that?
For this, you can look back to MLB. These teams just seem to be tone deaf. I mean, these guys getting mild suspensions of like 5-6 games versus Calvin Ridley, who again, it's against the rules, shouldn't have done it, but he's betting. He didn't even bet against his team. He betted for his team. He bet money on his team. And he gets boom a whole year. I mean, you compare it to MLB. I mean, look, the Astros. I mean, this thing about them, the unfair suspensions that you see there. All these guys do stuff. Astros flat out cheated, and just what happened there. But then, like, you look at PEDs and stuff, like boom, like one accidental sample and stuff like that. Boom, you're gone 81 games. You're gone half the season. But yet you flat out cheat, and they know that they cheated. Everybody knows that they cheated. Boom. What happened to them? Very
Slap on the wrist.
Yeah, exactly. The player. I mean, really and truly, the worst guy was the manager and Alex Cora when he went to the Red Sox. But then guess what? He got his job back a year later. So it's just all in all, he did was miss out on the pandemic season. So it's not like he missed anything. So I don't know. It's just a lot of these leagues together, not just the NFL, don't seem to have this together. That they suspend players for downright awful stuff that you look and go, oh my gosh, that's vulgar, or stuff that's detrimental to the game. And then they get light suspensions. And then you see something like this. Someone bet on the game. I mean, for Pete Rose is another example. I mean, the dude bet on the Cincinnati Reds. Hey, yeah, he had a gambling problem. Should he have been doing it? No, by rule. But he bet on his team. He bet. It's like, I think we're going to win, and I'm going to put a lot of money on it too. Can't really say blame him, but they banned him from the Hall of Fame. But yet people flat out cheat in this game. He never cheated. Got over 4,000 hits. Leads the league in leads Major League history in terms of hits. Banned from the Hall of Fame because of he bet on his team. He never bet against his team. It's just stuff like that. Leagues across the nation kind of send a bad example when they suspend players who actually have conduct detrimental to the team and the league. and they get slap on the wrist, as you mentioned. But
Yeah.
when it's certain stuff that just doesn't seem to be as quite a big a deal, they come down with the full hammer and just throw it at them, and it's just like and slam them to the ground and kick them while they're down. It's like, okay, that seems a little what kind of reverse here, like that, reverse them, and that's what you should have done. That's what it seems like to me. But again, NFL, Major League Baseball, these professional organizations just kind of slipping on this one, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for the NFL segment. That's pretty much it. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the March Madness that has been happening. I mean, it's been insane. And then we'll also break down a little bit of college baseball. And then if there is some news in the MLB, we'll report that to you. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back into the Sideline Sports Show. And Tim, there's a little bit of news to share with you. According to Jeff Passan 6 minutes ago, owners have ratified the new collective bargaining agreement, sources tell ESPN, and it means official baseball is back. And we are beyond excited because now it gives the Atlanta Braves the chance to renew their World Series title, go back to back. So hopefully that will happen. But that was official 6 minutes ago. So you'll probably start to see a couple of deals probably within the next hour. So may not happen within the show, but it will definitely probably happen before the night ends tonight. But Tim, before we do that, let's talk a little bit about some March Madness, Tim. I mean, this whole tournament, I mean, is insane right now. Teams trying to get in, teams trying to make sure they survive. Some teams that probably didn't even have a shot, they win their tournament and they get in. Some teams, even, Tim, that you argue that lost their tournament championship game should be in. Tim, what do you think about March Madness so far?
It's been awesome as a neutral fan, as a fan of my teams, both of which lost their conference tournament games and buzzer beaters.
Yeah.
So, and what I tell you, though, I told you that SoCon, man, look out for that. It's going to be a fun one, especially if you can get Furman and Chattanooga matched up against one another. And look what happened. We had an absolute thriller that, I mean, even Patrick Mahomes was tweeting about when it happened. I mean, it's just it was pure insanity. And I hated to be on the wrong side of it. I was so devastated for the Paladins. And I really do think that you look at that SoCon League, and I feel like there needs to be more than one bid just because.
Amen to that. Amen to that one.
I mean, dude, and in terms of overall rankings, out of over 30-some conferences, SoCon's ranked 12th. And it's like that's insanely high for a mid-major. So you definitely look – Chattanooga deserves to go. They've been the best team all year for sure. But definitely look at a team like Furman, Mike Bothwell, Jalen Slauson, Alex Hunter, Conley Garrison. Those guys were straight ballers, man. And they had a great year. They upset Louisville, almost beat Mississippi State, coulda, shoulda, woulda. That had been a real resume builder and was right there with North Carolina for a half before they had a bad segment in the second half and the game got away from them. But overall, they're a solid team, and I hope they get a chance at the NIT. I don't know if they will or not, but they're definitely starting to get out there. The hate of SoCon is pretty respectable, especially when you have teams like Sanford, VMI, who were absolute trash. I'll be honest with you. Just a couple years ago, they're now pretty good, and really and truly, I mean. You have 9 teams in this league that can compete with anybody. I believe they had 6 wins against the major conferences this year.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right.
Just overall, the league is just talented as well. And then you have teams like Murray State and the Ohio Valley went wire to wire, went undefeated in the conference, won their tournament in pretty good shape and stuff. So they're going to be someone to look out for. I expect them probably to be on that 8-9 line, and which is really good for an Ohio Valley team. So expect that. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they get matched up with North Carolina in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Wouldn't be surprised. I say it could happen. And that would be a game to watch right there.
Yeah.
It just the other one. And then you had that Northeast Conference where you don't usually think about that much, but you see that fight between Bryant and Wagner
I
fans. That
did.
was interesting.
It was fans. It wasn't even players. Like it just was so interesting. I'm like, what are we doing? Like
Mhm.
it's but that's March Madness for you. It gets crazy, and it has been a definitely crazy one so far. I want to talk about one thing that probably not a lot of people are talking about because I didn't know this until it happened the other day. I'm sitting here at work. My boss that's over here loves to watch women's basketball. Loves to watch it, and we were watching the SEC tournament. And Tim, I did not know if you saw this or not, but South Carolina got knocked down in the championship game
I
against
did hear about
Kentucky.
this.
And I was just like, oh my gosh. I think Kentucky at the time, I think they were 19-11, I think. And they come in and win the whole entire SEC tournament. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like,
Mhm.
but that's what basketball does. And so now South Carolina probably not being a 1 seed, they'll probably be a 2 seed more than likely.
Well,
But Kentucky,
they're still projected to be a 1 seed as the last I saw.
yeah.
So
But the thing is Kentucky, a 19-11 team, gets to punch their ticket to this thing, the NCAA tournament, and it's just insane how crazy this basketball March Madness season has been in these conference tournaments, both for men and women. Because Georgia State, they came in and won the Sun Belt this year in men's. Like no
weren't
one
they like an
projected.
8 seed
Yeah, they were
in
an
the
eight
tournament?
seed or 7 seed in the Sun Belt tournament. They came in and they won it. And you're just looking at this, and I'm like, man, these lower seeds really are competitive. And you look at a lot of these conferences, and you kind of just skip over people like the SoCon and the Sun Belt, and all these other schools. But really and realistically, like those, like you mentioned, those conferences are stacked from top to bottom, and it's super duper competitive. That's what makes college basketball so much fun.
Shoot. Yeah, and don't leave out the Big South either, man.
Yeah,
Longley, who only had one loss in conference all year. I mean, those guys are really good. Wouldn't be surprised to see them like probably about a 15 seed. I mean, they knocked off Winthrop. I mean, USC Upstate was a late surgeon. They had a late surge in that conference, but Winthrop's been the class of that for a couple years now. So that they overthrew them in the conference title with ease. So just overall, the Big South is good. I mean, like you said, man, A10 we all know has been good.
yeah,
They usually get multiple teams into the tournament. So I think it's about time we start realizing, hey, sometimes there's going to be some mid-major conferences that are just better in the ACC, SEC, Big Ten, and all those.
right.
So
You're
and you
you're
look at it, the
definitely
ACC is just completely down. If we're being honest, I mean,
yeah.
I saw a projection that they were like projected like 5 teams or something like that. That's insanely low for the ACC, especially when I think they had, a couple years ago they had like 10. So it's crazy to me.
Let's keep it on the ACC, Tim, as Coach K had his last and final game in Cameron Indoor, and let's just say it got a little dicey at the end, Tim, as North Carolina does not care about his retirement ceremony and comes in to Duke and wins and comes out with a big win in Cameron Indoor. And then Coach K comes out and he was like, I'm sorry the way that we played, and everybody's like, no, 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 no. But he's like, no, 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 no. Like we played bad. He said, but this is not the end of the season. I don't know why. I don't know why. I just feel like that's a revenge tour kind of speech for this ACC tournament, Tim. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
sounded like to me. What do you think?
It definitely sounded like it. They definitely didn't play like they normally would, though, today. They were down late to Syracuse, but used a 10-0 run to put it away. It could be. I think that they have an interesting semifinal potential matchup. I don't know if you can tell me this, but I don't know who won that Miami-Boston College game.
I
I
think
did
it's
get
Miami.
okay, that makes sense.
I'll look.
So I think that they could get past Miami pretty easily. If honest with you, I know Miami isn't an awful team or anything like that. They're going to be in March Madness, but I think this is something that they should be able to coast to the final game. And I think we could really truly see a Duke UNC ACC final. But teams like Notre Dame, who's really good, by the way, could interrupt that.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tim, let's go over to another sport that we'll talk about, college baseball. Tim, I just want to go ahead. Congratulations as your Clemson Tigers sweep the South Carolina Gamecocks over the
Making
weekend.
Clemson great again. Making
Yes,
Clemson great
I'm
again.
telling you, it was an absolutely incredible sweep for the Tigers. Georgia Tech, on the other hand, went 2-1. Lost to the Dogs in game 3, 12-3. But just incredible performance. And then this week, Mercer upset Georgia Tech on the road. So this college baseball, I mean, you got to think, look, there's another SoCon team right there in baseball that's making some noise for themselves. So, Tim, it's looking like the same for college baseball. March Madness is kind of crazy in college baseball as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wofford and the SoCon, they're the preseason favorites. I mean, those guys are really good as well. In baseball, you're going to find out that being a mid-major doesn't really matter. I mean, look, Texas State. Look, did you see what they did in Texas last
Yes,
night?
and we will go over that soon. But
Dude with the
man,
emphatic horns down. I mean, that was something else. That's what you get in college baseball that you don't get in Major League Baseball. The passion, night in,
yes,
night out. Especially, of course, Texas State used their two of their weekend guys, but still, I mean, they did it because, I mean, what better way to build your tournament resume come to end of the year with a win at number 1 Texas, and it was a fantastic win for that program. I got teams like Clemson who haven't been to Omaha since 2010. They're second in terms of most appearances at Omaha without a title. Weren't very good last year at all. The year before that, they had a solid team, but COVID kind of interrupted that. And then the years before that, they just kind of hadn't gotten over the regional hump. So this team looks good. They beat Michigan State last night 4-2 to improve to 12-0 on the year. I mean, now they do have a little bit of a test coming up this week that you didn't think would be a test. They got Northeastern, and I'm sure you know what they did to NC State last weekend.
yeah,
They swept the pack right out of Raleigh. I mean, it was an amazing pitching performance all around there for Northeastern. So, and really and truly, Clemson's doing all this without their best hitter, Caden Grice. He's got 3 home runs on the year. He's driven in some runs, but he's been a little bit of a funk, especially against South Carolina. I think he had 2 hits over the 3 games, struck out a lot. But he's finding his way back. He was injured in the fall and stuff, so he's finding his way back. That's Clemson's star player. I mean, and just wait until he gets going. If he gets going, this Clemson team could really be something special. So, and they're also their best start since 2002, in which they went like 24, 22-0 or something like that. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but in that year they went to Omaha and finished 3rd in the nation. So, if they're saying that, there's a lot of good comparisons here. So I'm definitely excited about that. Well, some good baseball out west too. UCLA isn't as highly ranked as we're used to seeing, but still a very solid team. LSU, I think, is going to be a solid team at the SEC. Again, NC State. You can't do this without talking about Tommy White. He was named National Player of the month. Kind of after he hit those 9 home runs, he's had a little bit of uptick in terms of pitching, in terms of competition. Hadn't hit one yet, but still 9 home runs in no matter what, like 6 games or something that he did. It was insane. So he definitely deserved National Player of the Month. But you know what's crazy? I can't remember the dude's name at Liberty, but Tommy White's actually 2nd in the nation in terms of home runs. The guy at Liberty actually has 10 right now. And talk about mid majors, man. Liberty, Texas State, those 2 teams are ranked in the top 25 right now. Liberty went to Florida opening weekend, took 2 out of 3 from the Gators. So there's a lot of baseball that's just so evenly distributed right now in terms of talent, man. And I'm telling you, even with Major League Baseball coming around, you don't want to turn off the TV for college baseball. It's a lot of fun to watch, and especially if you have a university that you're invested in, and they've got a baseball team that very talented in. Definitely might be one to tune into again this year.
Yeah, let's talk real quick. Let's talk about the ACC, because I think when these teams in the ACC get into conference play, it's going to be win-loss, 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 because all of these teams are super duper competitive. I know we've already talked about Tech, we've talked about Clemson, we've talked a little bit about NC State, but who's another team in the ACC who you think that will take that jump and kind of jump up there in that top tier of the ACC this year?
I think it could be Miami. I really do. I like the way that they've been swinging the bats a little bit. I also like Virginia. I mean, dude, look at their offensive numbers. They're another undefeated team in the ACC. 2 of the 3 undefeateds remaining in the country are from the ACC, Virginia and Clemson. I mean, I think almost all their games they have double-digit runs scored. I mean, they are on fire right now in terms of the plate. I mean, I'm telling you, man, look up their schedule and see how many runs they've scored this year. It is insane. That is an insane offense. I think their pitching is going to come around. I think it'll be fine. but we don't really know because competition hadn't been the greatest so far, but still their offense has looked amazing, and I think it'll continue to perform at a high level and stuff. Obviously, Notre Dame, they took a big leap last year, was really close. I think one game away from going to Omaha. And who would have thought that Notre Dame, a team from the north, would make that kind of jump? But and you look early, their offense hadn't missed a beat, man. They're attacking early, and their big series like against Clemson is going to be on the road. They're going to be at home in South Bend. So I think you could get another big year from Notre Dame as well. So and of course Georgia Tech. I got to mention Kevin Parada. Man, dude's been a hit machine this year. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you took mine, Tim. I was going to say Virginia, but it's just like everything you mentioned. I mean, you talked about the runs. You talked about everything. Their offense is on fire right now. And it's honestly like they can't even be stopped. Like you mentioned the double-digit wins they've had. I mean, it's just been absolutely insane. And, this Virginia team has been very well known in this tournament for years and years, and now, conference for years and years. And now you're starting to see this ACC really getting like that recognition that they're supposed to, because of the fact of you have teams like Georgia Tech, you have teams like Clemson, you have teams like Virginia, and all these teams that NC State. You're having a lot of teams up there in that tier 1 group of the NCAA baseball, and so it's really good to see for the ACC. And it's just like we mentioned. I mean, this whole month of baseball has been absolutely insane. You've seen teams come out of the middle of nowhere. Like for me, I think when Mercer beat Georgia Tech the other night, I was like, man, Mercer looked legit. Like, I mean, they got on top of Tech early and they held it. Like they didn't put their foot on the brake. It was all gas, no brakes. And so you're going to see a lot of those major teams step up in a big way this year to try to get into Omaha this year. So it'll be really, really exciting to see.
Yeah, and we definitely already seen that from Campbell and Northeastern as they took down NC State. And your point about the ACC and respect and stuff, the ACC was once the most feared baseball conference in the country up until it fell down significantly, and the SEC asserted its dominance just because of all the money they've invested in all their sports. And you're starting to see that in basketball as well, as obviously football. That had been dominated that for over a decade. But yeah, I think the ACC, you're starting to finally see some those teams come back and find their way. I mean, it showed Clemson just swept South Carolina. Other than the close game on Friday night, really and truly, Saturday wasn't close. And then Sunday, while there were moments, I still felt like Clemson had a decent control of that game. And a lot of people calling for a change over there in Columbia, and been a game in which we're going to call on Saturday. The head coach right there might be a good candidate to replace him. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it out there. It's mentioned, Landon Powell, head coach of North Greenville University, done a great job at North Greenville. Looking at the program and stuff, he's changed it completely. I mean, the field, the facilities, the team, everything's just been completely different. So, definitely be someone that I feel like they should look at for sure. If things do end up going that way, and they don't turn things around. So, I mean, when you lose your rival and then you get beat by Xavier by 8 runs, 15-7. Not a good look, not a good start. And then you also have number 1 Texas coming to town this weekend. So, yikes.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to introduce a new segment to you guys. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back into the Sideline Sports Show. Ben and Tim here with you on this lovely Thursday. Tim, we actually have a new segment to introduce to everybody. Yeah, so this one is called Rank 'em. Now, here's how this works, okay? And it's presented by our great friends at Section 103. Look, just go ahead. Go over to section103.com. Not right now, but after the show is done. That way you can still listen to us. But after the show's over, go over to Section 103. Make sure you use your 10% off code at checkout. Is hashtag not hashtag, but just Sideline, and you can get your Section 103 shirts today. They have some awesome Georgia Tech baseball shirts that they just made, so go check them out. Section103.com. All right, here's how this works, Tim. We're gonna just show you a couple of clips. I think over the week, and kind of it's just like you rank it. So it's like, okay, do you think the play was like a 9 out of 10, a 1 out of 10? So we have a bunch of clips, and Tim, I know this may break your heart. A couple of them will, but it's
you
okay.
put Furman in there, didn't you?
I don't know, well, but let's go ahead and find out, Tim. Here we go. So the first one, Tim. Let's just go ahead and tell you
right away. All right, get it out of the way.
But look, I mean, look, you tied it going in right there, right before the second half ended. Look, right here at the bottom, the guy that made the game-winning shot at the end of the game, he was calling for the ball right here before that ended. Then in overtime, look, you make the layup. I thought this game was over, Tim.
Bothwell again, man. That's what I thought, too. I was like, and sure enough, it's like Bothwell had an absolute stellar game. The dude's a boss. Should be in March Madness. But David Jean-Baptiste pulls up from 30 feet. Oh. When that happens, I literally fell on my knees and went, no, because I was so looking forward to Furman being on, seeing them on Selection Sunday in the NCAA tournament, man. And only for this to happen. I mean, it had been the first time since 1980, man. And Baptiste just had to do that to me, man. I'm
going to say it, Tim, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, John.
As a neutral fan, I'm going to have to go in terms of overall game. This was a 10. I mean, you could probably even 100 out of 10. This game was just overall fantastic. So.
All right, number 2, Tim. Clemson makes a free throw, take the lead by 2, and then
PJ Hall, if he makes the first one, we're going to double overtime.
But guess what? They give it to the biggest man on the floor, shoots a 3. Hokies win it.
Gosh, why I don't understand why Brownell called a timeout there and allowed them to get this guy in, because this guy was not in the game when Brad Brownell called timeout. This allowed him to get in the game. Virginia Tech didn't have any timeouts. They looked in. Oh yeah,
that was his face.
Yeah, that was my face. Yeah, but no, PJ Hall was an absolute boss in this game. Obviously, he missed that free throw, that big free throw that would have eventually made it a 3-point game, and worse, he would have sent it to double overtime. But
I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
I'll give it a 5.
All right, number 3, Miami, Louisville, and women's hoops. Look at that. I mean, Miami was the upset team all of this women's tournament for the ACC. Made it to the finals, but lost to NC State. But look at that shot. I mean, golly.
That's a 10 out of 10. That's a 10 out of 10 if I've ever seen one. The turn, kind of the Kobe fadeaway right there. Time expired, and you knocked off one of the best teams in the league and the country. I mean, that's 10 out of 10 right there. Absolutely.
I agree. 100%.
Love this time of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane. All right, number 4. This is where we're still in basketball. South Carolina down to the line with Kentucky with the game-winning 3.
Wow.
To make the Gamecocks go down for the first time. I think that was Kentucky's first SEC title championship since golly. And then South Carolina, they tried to drive the floor, and then here's a heave. I mean, look at this. And it wasn't going to be any good. Kentucky wins it. First time, I think, since 1970, Tim. So they've won a conference tournament in women's hoops. Let's be real. That 3, I mean, that's clutch. It's a 9 or a 10 out of 10. It's one of the two.
Well, I'll say I'll give it a 6.57. I'll give it a 7. But you know what? In terms of you beat the Gamecocks, 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I was about to say, for you, with the Gamecocks, it's going to be up a little bit more.
Absolutely. That's a 10 out of 10 for me right there, just because it was the Gamecocks. So, and they always say they at least have to get the lady basketball, and then that happens.
That's right. All right, number 5. Let's get some baseball, Tim. Look at this. Ole Miss. Look at this. Still second. I mean, cool. I mean, that's what you normally see.
Who is this team? Like, where did they get this team? Like, we forgot to cover third. Oh, no.
Wait, then the catcher goes to cover third.
There's nobody home.
There's no one home. So he dives into home. He's safe. Tim, I give this kid an awareness like a 100 if it was up to like MLB stats. But I mean, look at this. I mean, he's the awareness this kid has right here. He sees the third baseman standing right there, and he's like, "Oh, snap! I need to go to third." There's no one at third. So then when he does, I mean, the catcher comes to third, but then he goes home and he scores a run. I mean, awareness 100 automatically.
I got to give it a 9.5, and I'm only taking it off just because I feel like I need an oxygen tank after I just watched that.
Oh my God. Number 6, Texas. Now look, they wave 5. They beat Texas State
Oh,
Night
they
one,
went the
look at
wave.
that. They waved by.
Okay,
But
now I know why they're doing that.
Exactly. Then they win game 2. He goes horns down, baby. I mean, look at this. Look at this slow motion. Look at this, and it zooms in. Look at this, horns down. 9 out of 10 for Texas State. 10 out of 10 for Texas State. Shoot, get your respect.
9 out of 10 for the win. 10 out of 10 for the horns down. That was awesome.
Number 7, the final one, LSU.
Ooh, pimp job.
What a moonshot to walk that one off against Oklahoma. I mean, oh my goodness.
I'll give that an 8 in terms of there, but the pimp shot, man, is I'll give it to him. That's 20 out of 10. I mean, that's freaking awesome.
In the 11th inning, too. I mean, goodness. I mean, that was a moonshot, Tim.
That was, especially to walk it off. Nothing like a walk-off home run, bro.
Yeah.
Nothing like it.
Yeah. And that was our Rank 'em presented by Section 103. So make sure you go check them out. All right, Tim. Final thoughts. Do you think Freddie Freeman gets signed with the Braves within the next 24 hours? Yes or no?
I'm going to hold my fingers crossed, and I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say in the next 24 hours, he will sign with the Braves. And I think it's going to be between the Braves, Yankees, and Dodgers. And there's been some aggressive talk from the Yankees, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and I think there were some aggressive talks because Max Muncy even mentioned he's a first baseman. And he said, "Man, I'd love for Freddie Freeman to come join the Los Angeles Dodgers." And
he's saying that because of the universal DH now. So either way, he and him can alternate between that. So
I think that, and also that Freddie Freeman has a home in guess where? Los Angeles. So
there's that too. He's from that area.
Exactly. So it's like, hey, do you want to just stay home? So and you get some big bucks too. So I think there's a. I think it's really – I'm going to eliminate the Yankees. I'm just going to say it's between the Braves and the Dodgers. I really do. I don't think he goes to New York. So
I hope it's not the Dodgers, man. It's just because they got too much talent as it is, okay?
Yeah. But they would lose a lot of pitching in the process because if you sign Freddie Freeman to a big deal because that's what he wants. I mean, obviously, I think that's why the Braves couldn't make that negotiation. I think it was more money than anything.
Mm-hmm. It was more so, I think, the 6 year, and the Braves wouldn't offer him 5. He wants 6. Yeah. So just kind of keeping an eye on that. At this point, I'm just like, look, I think you should just give it to him.
Yeah, I'm for real. Just here you go, 6 year. There you go. So
yeah, right.
It's very, very interesting. But hopefully that's what will happen. Any more keynote free agents, Tim, that you think the Braves should sign, like in these next 24 hours?
I really want to go after Soler and Duvall. Those are the two I really want. Jock Peterson, I love him. He brought a lot of swag and fire to this club. But I feel like he's the one that you got to be the most expendable. I mean, he's great at times, but he's not as great other times. He's very exciting, but can definitely find his way into a struggle, can strike out a lot. So I think like he's the one that you could definitely lean on to kind of go away and sign with someone else. So that'd be the one I would let go. And I would definitely be keen on Duvall and Soler. Those are the two for sure. Now, Rosario, that'd be an interesting one. I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't know if they're going to be able to bring him back or not. It'd be nice if they could. I don't know if they will. But the Braves also have some talent down there in the minor league, so we'll be interested to see what happens.
Yeah, that would be really interesting because I think this is, for me, in my personal opinion, this is a make-or-break year for Drew Waters and Christian Pache. Like, this is like their make-or-break year. Like, if they don't do anything, if they don't get to the majors this year, I think they're done. I mean, they've not really proven too much to the Braves yet. I think Christian Pache showed a little bit of flash here and there, and that's why he got called up for opening day last year. But then you saw him. I mean, he went straight back down. So
he couldn't hit.
I think he couldn't hit, and I think this is a make or break year for them. And I honestly believe Wilson Contreras, this may be his make or break year too, because of the fact of you got Shea Langoliers coming up as well. So you're going to see a lot of those minor league players in a make or break kind of situation for this Atlanta Braves organization, because they did bring in Manny Pena from the Brewers to back up Travis d'Arnaud. So you may see Pena go down at some point to AAA if Contreras starts lighting it up in the AAA level, kind of like what he did last year. So make or break year for those guys. But I would really, like I said, I think I would love to bring Duvall back on at least one more year. I don't know if I'm comfortable saying 2 years yet. I love Jorge Soler. I think he would probably be my top one over Eddie Rosario. And it's like you mentioned, I think Eddie Rosario would be great, but I don't think that's gonna happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But there's one more question I have to ask for you, Tim, before we leave. If the Braves don't sign Freddie Freeman, who do they go after? Who do you want you to be your first baseman for the Atlanta Braves?
I mean, I actually heard them maybe being in talks with Anthony Rizzo. I mean, that's
Oh,
someone that was something that was mentioned before the lockout, so that's always an option. Matt Olson used to play with he played with the Athletics here recently, so he's always an option too. So there are a couple options out there. I mean, they're good options. They're just not Freddie Freeman options.
right. But who would you want, Tim? Who would you want if
I'd
Freddie
take
Freeman?
Rizzo. I'd take Rizzo. I really would. I like him. He's getting a little older, but it gives some time for Braves out of the farm system to develop. But overall, I think it'd be good to have Anthony Rizzo on the team, and I think he would hit balls into that chop house all day long. So I think that would definitely favor him.
I'm honestly going to go opposite Tim. I'm going to go Matt Olson, and I say
Okay.
that because he's younger. He's got a little bit more time to, I would say, develop into a bigger player than what he already is with the Oakland A's. So I'm going to go Matt Olson, and I know that he may not be as flashy as Freddie Freeman. I think the ultimate goal. I think if you're a Braves fan, you want Freddie Freeman. But let's say you don't get him. I would go Matt Olson because he's 28. I mean, he's still got a lot of years left in him if he can stay healthy, which he has been his whole entire career. Hadn't had a lot of big injuries, so I think it would be really, really interesting to see if they can sign Matt Olson or not. So hopefully the end goal is to sign Freddie Freeman, but if not, I would be okay with Matt Olson. I don't know about Anthony Rizzo though, Tim. I feel like he's up there in age, and I think that's probably the decline. Because I don't know what kind of contract he'd want. I wouldn't be comfortable giving him two, Tim. I mean, honestly, like probably two would be my max.
I mean, I could see a 2-year deal. I mean, like I said, like it gives you give you enough time to either find someone in free agency or figure out what you have down there in the minors. So that's why I feel like it'd be okay. And definitely, if you're trying to go for it again this year, being able to do that and stuff. So and this year intro is going to be about if you can get those guys back, or if you can't, getting everything until Ronald Acuna comes back. So
Absolutely.
we'll find out a lot about this upcoming 2022 Braves season within the next 48 hours or so.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up today's show. Before we leave, though, make sure to go follow us on all of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. All Sideline Sports Show. And then on TikTok, it's on Twitter, it's Sideline SP Show. So go check that out. And then finally, last but not least, make sure to go check out our friends at section103.com. Use the code Sideline to get 10% off your first order. Very, very comfortable shirts. I love wearing them. And it's baseball season. They got a couple of baseball shirts. Go grab them before they all sell out before baseball season's over. All right, Tim. It's been a great show. Unfortunately, not a lot of breaking news as we thought, but guess what? Baseball's back. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I've had a couple things pop up on my phone and stuff, but all of it was more so football related.
Yeah.
So.
And the Braves just tweeted a little GIF, and it says, haha, I'm back. So,
wow.
welcome back.
Yeah, I guess. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for 100 days of being away.
I know, for real. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it. Make sure to go check out our podcast as well. If you're watching the show, if you're not watching the show and you're listening on the podcast, make sure to come and watch the show live on Thursdays. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go check it out. And until then, we will see you guys next Thursday. Hopefully have some Freddie Freeman breaking news in between then and now. All right. Have a great weekend. We will see you guys all next week right here on the Sideline Sports Show.